Welcome to our channel. We are so glad you found your way here. Let us help you fall asleep. Let's begin with the quiet collapse of Toys R Us, the corporate failure of the toy retail giant. Take a slow, deep breath in and release it. Even the tallest towers eventually quiet down. Tonight, we gently explore the empty boardrooms and forgotten ambitions of the past. Your mind is calm, and we are ready to begin. The rise of Toys R Us marked a significant chapter in the evolution of retail. Founded in 1957, it began as a humble baby furniture store, gradually transforming into a formidable presence in the toy industry. By the 1980s, the company had established itself as a go-to destination for children and parents alike, boasting an expansive selection of toys and games. The iconic jingle, "I don't want to grow up, I'm a Toys R Us kid," resonated with generations, embedding itself in the cultural landscape. Innovative marketing strategies propelled its growth, including large-scale advertisements and vibrant storefronts that captured the imaginations of young shoppers. The massive warehouse-style stores, filled with colorful displays and endless aisles, became a playground for children. This approach not only attracted consumers, but also set a new standard for retail experiences, emphasizing the importance of atmosphere in shopping. As the company expanded, it strategically opened locations across the United States and internationally, becoming synonymous with childhood joy. The sheer size of its operations allowed for a diverse inventory, catering to a multitude of tastes and preferences. The success of Toys R Us exemplified the potential of specialty retail, illustrating how a focused vision and understanding of consumer desire could lead to remarkable achievements in the marketplace. Charles Lazarus established Toys R Us in 1957, inspired by a deep-seated belief in the power of play. This vision was born from his early experiences in his family's bicycle business, where he recognized the joy that toys brought to children. The store, initially a baby furniture retailer, gradually evolved into a dedicated toy haven, a reflection of Lazarus's commitment to creating a space where imagination could flourish. With an unwavering focus on customer experience, Toys R Us transformed retail landscapes across the nation. Retail outlets showcased a wide array of toys, appealing to diverse age groups and interests, while vibrant displays and an inviting atmosphere encouraged exploration. This approach set a precedent in the toy industry, emphasizing play as an essential component of childhood development. Lazarus's vision extended beyond mere commercial success. It echoed a philosophy that positioned toys not just as products, but as instruments of growth and creativity. The brand became synonymous with childhood joy, fostering a sense of nostalgia and belonging among families. In the ensuing decades, Toys R Us thrived, navigating the complexities of the retail environment with agility. The company expanded its reach, establishing itself as a dominant player. Yet, this trajectory would encounter challenges that would eventually contribute to its decline, marking a significant shift in the retail landscape. The expansion era unfolded with a bold ambition, transforming a humble local store into a recognizable national presence. This period saw it proliferate across the country, establishing hundreds of outlets that catered to the whims of children and the hopes of parents. Each new location was met with anticipation, as aisles filled with colorful merchandise created an inviting atmosphere where imagination thrived. Strategic decisions to enhance inventory and diversify offerings reflected a keen understanding of market demands. Exclusive partnerships with major toy manufacturers allowed it to showcase products that were coveted, thus reinforcing its position as a leader in the industry. The marketing campaigns were well crafted, echoing the joyous experiences associated with childhood. This growth not only expanded its footprint, but also solidified customer loyalty, as families flocked to these stores. It became a staple in many communities, synonymous with joyous celebrations and gift-giving occasions. Amidst this expansion, however, external pressures began to mount. The rise of digital retail created a new paradigm, shifting consumer behaviors and expectations. This change, coupled with increasing operational costs, began to erode the solid foundation built during the expansion. As the market evolved, this once dominant giant found itself grappling with the consequences of an ever-changing landscape, setting the stage for challenges ahead. Innovations in toy retail began to emerge in response to shifting consumer preferences. The concept of the toy superstore gained traction, offering expansive spaces filled with an extensive range of products. These large-format stores transformed the shopping experience, allowing families to explore aisles brimming with colorful merchandise. The allure of such environments encouraged foot traffic, fostering a sense of excitement and discovery. Major players embraced this approach, providing not only a diverse selection of toys, but also interactive displays and engaging play areas. This strategy aimed to create a destination rather than merely a shopping venue. As parents sought out enriching experiences for their children, the model promised to meet those desires, blending commerce with entertainment. The impact of this evolution was profound. Traditional retailers struggled to maintain relevance as these superstores carved out significant market share. The emphasis shifted from simple transactions to an immersive experience, inviting customers to linger longer and enjoy their surroundings. These changes marked a turning point, compelling established companies to reassess their business models. The emergence of the superstore concept demonstrated the importance of adaptation in a competitive landscape. As it became clear that consumer preferences were evolving, many once reliable brands found themselves at a crossroads, facing a dilemma that would. The role of branding became increasingly pivotal during this critical juncture. The "I Don't Want to Grow Up" campaign, initiated in the early 1980s, resonated deeply with both children and their parents, establishing a powerful emotional connection. This slogan encapsulated a sense of nostalgia and carefree joy, transforming a simple toy retailer into a cultural icon. Such branding endeavored to evoke memories of childhood, creating an environment where the joy of play could flourish. Amidst changing consumer habits and the rise of digital entertainment, the effectiveness of this campaign diminished. While it initially propelled sales and strengthened consumer loyalty, the market landscape shifted dramatically. Competitors emerged, leveraging innovative marketing strategies that aligned more closely with emerging trends. The emotional appeal that had once defined this brand began to fade, as younger generations sought different experiences and products. With the decline in traditional retail, the once vibrant store locations became eerily quiet, shadows of their former selves. The vibrant advertisements that once captivated audiences fell silent, unable to compete with the allure of online shopping. This region, once bustling with laughter and excitement, transformed into a ghostly reminder of what had been. The failure to adapt to the evolving marketplace marked a significant turning point, leading to a gradual unraveling of this beloved retailer's legacy. The competitive landscape shifted dramatically with the emergence of expansive retailers such as Walmart and Target. These giants entered the toy market with substantial resources, leveraging their economies of scale to offer lower prices and wider selections. Customers found the convenience of acquiring toys alongside groceries and household goods appealing. This convenience established a new standard, altering consumer expectations. The rise of e-commerce further complicated the environment for the fading company. Online platforms provided an alternative that was not only convenient, but often more affordable. With the ability to browse vast inventories from the comfort of home, consumers increasingly favored these digital storefronts over traditional brick-and-mortar experiences. The transition underscored a stark reality. Agility in adapting to consumer behaviors became paramount. This region once thrived with the vibrant colors and sounds of childhood, yet it now bore witness to empty aisles and diminishing foot traffic. The once crowded stores became shadows of their former selves, as shoppers opted for competitors that fulfilled their needs more effectively. The loyalty long associated with the storied retailer began to erode, as families sought the practicality offered by their rivals. In time, the inability to meet these shifting demands culminated in a profound decline, marking the end of an era for a brand that had once dominated the toy industry and captured the imaginations of countless children. The digital landscape emerged as a formidable force, reshaping the retail environment in ways previously unimaginable. E-commerce platforms quickly attracted consumers with their convenience and expansive selections. It became apparent that traditional brick-and-mortar stores were struggling to compete in the shifting paradigm. Consumers found enjoyment in browsing online, where they could effortlessly compare prices and read reviews from other shoppers. This transition not only drew customers away from physical locations, but also altered their purchasing habits. The immediacy of online shopping meant that the carefully curated displays and aisles of the fading company were no longer necessary. Instead, consumers appreciated the ease of ordering from the comfort of their homes, often leading to impulsive purchases driven by targeted advertisements. The impact was pronounced, as once vibrant storefronts saw foot traffic diminish. Those who had once relied on the tactile experience of selecting toys in person now opted for the efficiency of delivery services. The emergence of online retailers, many offering free shipping and easy returns, further exacerbated the challenges faced by the fading company. In this atmosphere of rapid change, the once revered toy retailer struggled to adapt. The urgency of embracing digital solutions was met with resistance, leaving the brand vulnerable to an evolving market that increasingly favored convenience over tradition. The 1990s marked a period of remarkable expansion for the toy retail giant. During this era, it experienced unprecedented growth, establishing itself as a dominant force in the market. The vast array of toys, from action figures to intricate playsets, filled expansive aisles designed to entice young shoppers. This period saw the company achieving peak revenues and a loyal customer base, bolstered by the excitement of new product launches and effective marketing strategies. Strong partnerships with renowned toy manufacturers facilitated a diverse inventory, ensuring that it remained at the forefront of consumer preferences. Parents relied heavily on its reputation for quality and variety, often choosing to visit its stores for special occasions, such as birthdays and holidays. The experience of shopping amidst brightly colored displays created an almost nostalgic atmosphere, further solidifying its position as a go-to destination for families. Competitors struggled to keep pace, unable to replicate the scale and appeal of this retail phenomenon. The company's stronghold was evident in the way it dominated shopping malls and neighborhoods, becoming synonymous with childhood joy and imagination. Yet, beneath the surface of this thriving enterprise, subtle signs of complacency began to take root, setting the stage for challenges that would. Diversification strategies emerged as a crucial aspect of its growth, with intentions to expand beyond traditional toy offerings. This initiative led to the introduction of various products, including electronics, clothing, and even baby supplies. Such an approach aimed to capture a broader market share and attract different consumer demographics. These additional departments generated initial enthusiasm among investors and management alike. This optimism, however, masked underlying issues. Many stores began to resemble large warehouses, filled with an incoherent assortment of items that diverged from its core identity. The brand, once synonymous with toys, became a confusing amalgamation of unrelated products, which alienated loyal customers seeking specific playthings. In pursuit of this multifaceted strategy, it faced logistical challenges. supply chains became increasingly complex, leading to inefficiencies that eroded profit margins. Staff training and expertise were diluted as employees struggled to manage a diverse inventory. The result was a diminished customer experience as shoppers encountered disorganization and a lack of knowledgeable assistance. Marketing initiatives aimed at promoting these new categories often fell flat. Brand messaging lost focus, failing to resonate with its established audience. In the absence of a coherent strategy, the once unified vision began to fracture, and the company slowly drifted into a state of confusion. The acquisition by Bain Capital, KKR, and Vornado Realty Trust marked a significant turning point in its history. This consortium, driven by aspirations of revitalization, took the company private in the year 2005. With the weight of considerable debt now resting upon its shoulders, the focus shifted towards restructuring and operational efficiency. These new owners sought to streamline operations and optimize existing resources, yet the looming burden of financial obligations cast a long shadow over their ambitions. Investment strategies were employed, aiming to rejuvenate the brand and enhance its market presence. The infusion of capital was intended to modernize stores and improve customer experiences. Despite these intentions, the retail environment had begun to evolve rapidly, with competitors and online marketplaces emerging as formidable adversaries. Efforts to adapt to this changing landscape proved insufficient. Traditional retail models struggled against the rising tide of digital commerce, which offered convenience and variety that brick-and-mortar stores could scarcely match. As time progressed, it became evident that the strategies implemented were not yielding the desired results. The once prominent toy retailer found itself increasingly outpaced, unable to reclaim its former glory. This shift reflected broader trends within the industry, as the gap between aspiration and reality widened, leading to a gradual but persistent decline. The mounting debt burden became a critical element in the unraveling of this once prominent retailer. Financial maneuvers initiated by private equity firms introduced a complex web of buyout financing that strained resources. This massive leverage created an environment where cash flow was increasingly directed towards servicing debt rather than reinvesting in innovation or customer experience. The initial allure of buyout financing lay in the promise of rapid returns, yet it masked underlying vulnerabilities. Investment in physical stores dwindled, while competition from e-commerce began to outpace traditional retail. These factors intertwined, amplifying the challenges faced by the fading company. The once vibrant aisles filled with laughter and imagination became overshadowed by financial uncertainty. Financial reports reflected an unsettling reality. As debt obligations accumulated, the ability to adapt to changing consumer habits diminished. Rather than thriving, the focus shifted to survival, creating a cycle of reactive strategies. This shift left it ill-equipped to compete with emerging online rivals who capitalized on the efficiency and convenience of digital shopping. Management decisions became increasingly constrained, leading to a singular focus on short-term financial performance. The broader ramifications of this approach contributed to a severe disconnect with the core values that had once driven the brand's success. The essence of the company's identity faded, lost within the confines of spreadsheets and financial obligations. The shift in consumer behavior marked a significant turning point for the fading company. This region witnessed a gradual alteration in how families approached the act of purchasing toys. Convenience took precedence, with online shopping emerging as the dominant method for acquiring goods. Digital marketplaces provided a vast selection and immediate gratification, reshaping expectations for consumers. Traditional brick-and-mortar locations struggled to keep pace with the evolving landscape. The allure of physical stores diminished as parents increasingly sought to avoid the crowded aisles and lengthy checkout lines. A growing preference for at-home shopping experiences reflected changing lifestyles, driven by technology and instant access to information. The younger generations, accustomed to digital interactions, found themselves less inclined to visit physical locations. This shift was not merely a trend, but a fundamental change in how toys were perceived and purchased. Merchandising strategies that once thrived within the confines of this company became obsolete. The curated aisles filled with colorful products lost their charm against the simplicity of online browsing. Compounding these challenges, competitors adapted swiftly to the new market environment, leveraging e-commerce to capture the attention of consumers. As enthusiasm waned, so did loyalty, leading to an inevitable decline in sales. The repercussions of this shift resonated deeply, influencing every aspect of the fading company's operations and the emergence of discount retailers in the retail landscape. Stores like Walmart began to dominate, offering an extensive array of products at prices significantly lower than those found in traditional toy retailers. These discounters capitalized on an economic model that prioritized volume and convenience, drawing consumers away from specialized stores. Within this context, the once thriving toy giant struggled to adapt. The allure of a one-stop shopping experience provided by these discount chains made it increasingly difficult for it to maintain customer loyalty. Shoppers gravitated toward the lower prices and broader selections available, leaving the fading company to contend with dwindling foot traffic and a diminishing market share. Aggressive pricing strategies implemented by competitors further compounded the challenges faced. The loss of consumer spending power shifted the dynamics of the industry. It became evident that maintaining a vast inventory of toys at competitive prices was not sustainable. The fading company's reliance on a traditional retail model, characterized by higher overhead costs and a focus on exclusive brands, increasingly became a liability. As seasons changed and consumer preferences evolved, the contrast between the toy giant and its discount counterparts grew starker. The landscape shifted dramatically, revealing the vulnerabilities inherent within its operational framework. This widening gap foreshadowed the challenges yet to unfold in the years ahead. The rise of digital entertainment began to reshape consumer preferences, gradually eclipsing the traditional toy market. As children gravitated towards screens, the allure of video games became increasingly irresistible. This shift marked a pivotal moment for the fading company, which had long anchored its identity in physical toys and tangible play experiences. Retail spaces, once filled with colorful displays of action figures and dolls, began to see reduced foot traffic. This region, once a bustling hub of activity, witnessed the slow decline of interest in its core offerings. The shelves that had once brimmed with vibrant packaging now stood partially filled, reflecting a changing landscape that no longer favored the relics of a bygone era. Competitors, particularly those within the technology sector, seized this opportunity, introducing interactive and immersive gaming experiences that captured the imagination of a generation. The contrast became stark. While these digital platforms thrived, the traditional toy retailers struggled to adapt. They faced mounting pressure not only from shifting consumer preferences, but also from the rapid pace of innovation that left little room for complacency. Decreased sales soon became evident in quarterly reports, signaling a deeper issue that extended beyond mere trends. The very foundation of the company began to show signs of strain, revealing vulnerabilities that would Brick-and-mortar locations faced declining foot traffic as shoppers increasingly turned to digital platforms. This decline was not merely a trend, but rather a transformation in purchasing habits, driven by technological advancements and changing demographics. The emergence of mobile shopping further complicated the situation, as consumers sought immediacy and ease in their buying experiences. In addition to these changes, economic factors played a role in shaping the environment. Shifts in disposable income, coupled with fluctuating consumer confidence, contributed to a cautious spending mentality. Many families began to prioritize experiences over physical products, leaving retailers like this one grappling with inventory surpluses and reduced demand. Competition intensified as discount retailers gained traction in the market, enticing budget-conscious consumers with lower prices. This pressure strained profit margins, forcing many companies to reevaluate their business models. The cumulative effect of these elements created a perfect storm, leading to a profound and lasting impact on the toy retail segment, as well as the broader retail sector. Examining the competitive landscape reveals a diverse array of strategies employed by other toy retailers, each crafted to capture market share in a rapidly evolving environment. Smaller, independent stores began to thrive by focusing on niche markets, embracing the artisanal aspect of toys, and offering personalized customer experiences. These retailers cultivated strong community ties, fostering loyalty through local events and unique product selections. Mass-market competitors took a different approach, leveraging economies of scale and aggressive pricing strategies. Discount chains positioned themselves as accessible alternatives, offering a broad range of products at lower price points. This pricing pressure significantly undermined the profitability of established brands, intensifying the competition for consumer attention and dollars. In contrast, online retailers introduced convenience and vast inventories, reshaping consumer expectations. With an emphasis on swift delivery and extensive selection, they captured a segment of the market that valued efficiency and ease of access. Notably, the rise of e-commerce prompted many traditional retailers to reconsider their operational models, leading to an increased investment in digital platforms. This shift in focus created a sense of urgency for other toy retailers to innovate. Strategies such as exclusive partnerships with popular brands and the integration of technology into toys emerged as key differentiators. These developments underscored the necessity for adaptation in an industry marked by rapid change and fluctuating consumer preferences. The impact of the 2008 financial crisis was profound, affecting various sectors within the economy, including retail. A sharp decline in consumer spending became evident as households tightened their budgets in response to rising unemployment and decreasing disposable income. This environment posed significant challenges for many retailers, but for the fading company, it marked the beginning of a steep decline. Sales plummeted, reflecting a shift in priorities as families prioritized basic needs over discretionary purchases. The allure of toys diminished as consumers gravitated towards essential goods, diminishing foot traffic in brick-and-mortar stores. The reliance on a legacy business model became increasingly problematic, with the company struggling to navigate this new reality. In an effort to remain competitive, major inventories were slashed and promotional strategies intensified. Despite these attempts, the pressure mounted as competitors adapted more swiftly, embracing online retailing while the fading giant lagged behind. The once vibrant aisles, once filled with laughter and excitement, began to echo with a haunting silence. Bankruptcy loomed, driven by insurmountable debt and a failure to innovate. The ramifications of the financial crisis reverberated through its operations, stripping away the foundation that had supported its prominence. Each passing season brought further decline, highlighting the harsh truth of an industry unwilling to embrace change in a transformative economic landscape. Financial instability became increasingly evident, manifesting in dwindling sales figures and mounting debt. This region of retail witnessed a once-beloved giant falter under the weight of mismanagement, and a failure to adapt to a rapidly evolving marketplace. Leadership decisions, often reactive rather than proactive, contributed to a lack of coherent strategy, resulting in a disjointed vision that alienated both consumers and employees. These management issues were compounded by a broader industry shift towards e-commerce. While competitors embraced online platforms, this fading company remained tethered to its brick-and-mortar roots. Store closures began to proliferate, leaving behind empty shelves and forlorn aisles. Each closure intensified the sense of loss, echoing the collective nostalgia for simpler times when toys meant joy rather than fiscal concern. The struggle to maintain relevance became palpable as promotional strategies failed to resonate with a new generation of shoppers. Attempts to modernize were often too little, too late. In the face of relentless competition, financial backing waned. Creditors grew wary, and the looming specter of bankruptcy became an ever-present reality. The decision to file for Chapter 11 protection emerged as a necessary step in an increasingly desperate situation. This legal maneuver allowed for a restructuring process intended to alleviate some of the financial burdens that had accumulated over the years. Amidst mounting debts and dwindling sales, leadership believed this would provide a lifeline, a way to stabilize operations while negotiating with creditors. In September of 2017, a court filing marked the official commencement of the proceedings. The company sought to reassure stakeholders that it would continue to operate its stores and honor gift cards, aiming to maintain consumer confidence during this tumultuous period. The initial response was cautiously optimistic, with hopes that a strategic overhaul could once again make it a formidable player in the toy industry. Yet beneath the surface, the realities of an evolving marketplace loomed large. Competition from online retailers continued to erode market share, emphasizing the vulnerability of traditional brick-and-mortar establishments. Analysts scrutinized the restructuring plans, questioning whether they were comprehensive enough to address the underlying issues. As store closures were announced, the retail landscape showed signs of irrevocable change, leaving many to ponder the future of the once iconic brand. The quiet rustle of discontent echoed through the aisles, a palpable reminder of the shifting tides in consumer retail. Employees, once the vibrant lifeblood of the establishment, found themselves ensnared in uncertainty. Morale dwindled as rumors circulated about impending closures and layoffs. Faces that once radiated enthusiasm now bore the weight of anxiety. These individuals, dedicated to fostering joy in childhood, were left to grapple with the erosion of their own livelihoods. Customers, too, felt the tremors of instability. Once a cherished destination, it transformed into a mere shell of its former self. Families that had frequented the colorful aisles began to seek alternatives, their loyalty slowly fading as the allure of e-commerce became increasingly irresistible. Investors, observing the decline, reacted with a mix of disappointment and apprehension. Financial statements began to reflect the stark reality, revealing dwindling revenues and increasing debts. Confidence in the once mighty giant eroded as shareholders debated the viability of their investments. The once promising trajectory of growth turned into a stark downward spiral, leaving financial analysts to reassess projections. In this region of mounting despair, the narrative of corporate decline unfolded methodically. The dream of a thriving retail empire, once characterized by joy and wonder, crumbled beneath the weight of an evolving market landscape. This transformation encapsulated the fragility of even the most iconic brands, a reminder of the relentless passage of time and shifting consumer preferences. Store closures left a profound mark on local communities, altering the retail landscape in significant ways. Each shuttered location contributed to a growing sense of emptiness in neighborhoods that once thrived on the vibrancy of bustling aisles filled with toys. These closures were not merely a loss of a retail outlet. They represented a diminishing sense of childhood wonder for many families. Local economies were profoundly affected as jobs vanished, removing sources of income for employees who had dedicated years of their lives to the company. The loss of these positions rippled through the community, affecting not only individuals, but also the businesses that relied on the foot traffic generated by the toy giant. Nearby restaurants, bookstores, and smaller retailers experienced declines in patronage as families sought alternative destinations for entertainment and shopping. Children's birthdays, once celebrated with the anticipation of a trip to the local store, transformed into quieter, more subdued occasions. The absence of a well-known destination changed the shopping habits of parents who turned to online platforms, further isolating these communities from shared experiences. A sense of nostalgia began to permeate the area as residents reminisced about the joyous moments spent within the aisles. The closures became emblematic of an era that had gradually slipped away, leaving behind a void in both commerce and collective memory. The advent of online shopping transformed the retail landscape irrevocably. It introduced a level of convenience that brick-and-mortar stores struggled to compete with, while traditional retailers relied on foot traffic and physical presence. An increasing number of consumers gravitated toward the ease of purchasing from home. This shift often rendered the once cherished aisles of places like Toys R Us obsolete. The allure of browsing an infinite selection without the constraints of time or location became irresistible. With a few clicks, customers could access products from around the globe, often at lower prices. The joy of discovering new toys in store was overshadowed by the practicality of digital shopping. These changing preferences took a toll on the fading company. Revenue declined sharply as loyal customers began to prioritize efficiency over nostalgia. The inability to adapt to this new consumer behavior highlighted a critical flaw in its business model. Amidst this transition, the competition intensified. Specialized online retailers emerged, offering targeted selections and tailored experiences. The once dominant toy giant struggled to keep pace. In an environment where agility was essential, it found itself mired in outdated practices, unable to pivot effectively. The decline of Toys R Us stands not just as a tale of a single company, but as a cautionary reminder of the unforgiving nature of evolving markets. Misalignment with target demographics played a pivotal role in the downfall of this once iconic toy retailer. Initially, it thrived by recognizing the desires of children and the purchasing power of parents, creating a vibrant shopping experience filled with interactive displays and expansive product selections. Over time, a disconnect began to emerge as competitors adapted more swiftly to shifting market dynamics. The retailer struggled to innovate in its marketing strategies. Promotional efforts failed to resonate with an increasingly tech-savvy youth who gravitated toward digital platforms for engagement. As online shopping gained momentum, the inability to effectively penetrate these digital channels left it vulnerable to competitors who embraced e-commerce as a primary sales avenue. Advertisements, once bright and captivating, grew stale, lacking the creativity needed to capture the attention of a new generation. Simultaneously, the brand's messaging began to misalign with the evolving values of parents. Emphasis shifted from quality and educational value to mere price competition, undermining the essence of what made it a beloved destination. This strategic oversight alienated loyal customers who once cherished the nostalgic appeal of visiting the physical stores. The resulting erosion of brand loyalty was compounded by a failure to adapt to the increasing demand for experiential retail. The importance of adaptation became increasingly evident as competitors began to embrace innovations that resonated with a new generation of consumers. The shift towards digital engagement and interactive shopping experiences was met with resistance. This reluctance to innovate created a chasm, separating the fading giant from its agile counterparts. Many new brands offered immersive environments that transformed mere purchasing into memorable encounters, while it remained entrenched in a traditional retail model. The emergence of e-commerce further exacerbated the situation. Online platforms provided convenience and accessibility that traditional toy stores struggled to compete with. It was a transition that required a reevaluation of strategies and an embrace of technology, yet the response was slow and insufficient. The inability to effectively leverage digital tools for sales and marketing diminished its relevance in a swiftly changing marketplace. Physical stores, once bustling with activity, became increasingly underutilized. The lack of captivating in-store experiences meant that foot traffic dwindled, leading to a stark decline in sales. This stagnation was not merely a reflection of economic circumstances, but a clear indicator of a broader failure to recognize and act upon evolving consumer preferences. The absence of innovation solidified its decline, illustrating that adaptation is essential in the face of shifting market dynamics. The reverberations of this failure continued to echo throughout the industry, leaving a profound impact on the landscape of retail. The inventory crisis became a stark indicator of underlying issues within the retail giant. Excessive stock accumulated in warehouses, unable to move from shelves. This oversaturation led to significant financial strain. The once reliable supply chain faltered, unable to adapt to shifting consumer preferences. As trends evolved rapidly, this entity struggled to maintain relevance. The shelves, once vibrant with a plethora of toys, became laden with outdated merchandise. Underperformance became a common theme. Seasonal peaks, which typically invigorated sales, yielded disappointing returns. A miscalibration in forecasting led to poor inventory decisions, with product lines that failed to resonate with the target demographic. Items that once captivated children now languished untouched. The disconnect between anticipated demand and actual sales painted a bleak picture of the retail environment. Management's inability to respond swiftly to market dynamics further exacerbated these issues. Competitors, nimble in their operations, capitalized on emerging trends while this entity remained mired in its outdated models. The gradual decline in foot traffic reflected broader shifts in consumer behavior, with preferences leaning towards online shopping. As brick-and-mortar locations struggled, the weight of unsold inventory grew. The burden of excess stock became emblematic of deeper systemic failures, signaling a critical turning point in the company's trajectory. Leadership played a pivotal role in the unfolding decline, characterized by decision-making failures that reverberated throughout the organization. The boardroom discussions became increasingly disconnected from the realities of the retail landscape, as executives opted for strategies that prioritized short-term profits over long-term sustainability. This misalignment fostered a culture of complacency, diminishing the innovative spirit that once defined the enterprise. In this atmosphere, critical missteps emerged. The decision to heavily invest in an expansive brick-and-mortar presence, while neglecting the burgeoning online market, illustrated a profound misunderstanding of evolving consumer behaviors. A lack of adaptability hamstrung the company, preventing it from capitalizing on digital sales channels that were rapidly gaining traction. Communication breakdowns further compounded these challenges. Information often failed to flow effectively between departments, stifling collaboration and critical insights. Employees at various levels felt unheard, resulting in a workforce devoid of motivation and direction. The absence of a cohesive vision led to disjointed initiatives that lacked the necessary support. Leadership's failure to engage with shifting market dynamics undermined the company's ability to respond to competition, leaving it vulnerable in an increasingly aggressive industry. These miscalculations not only eroded financial stability, but also contributed to a broader erosion of trust among stakeholders, a crucial element for any enduring brand. An environment of uncertainty began to permeate the halls of this fading company, where internal struggles became increasingly evident. Frequent leadership changes and shifting strategic priorities led to confusion among employees, diminishing their sense of purpose. Morale declined as the workforce grappled with a lack of clear direction, fostering an atmosphere of disengagement. Management's attempts to implement cost-cutting measures often resulted in layoffs, further exacerbating feelings of instability. These decisions, although aimed at preserving the bottom line, created a culture of fear and resentment. Employees, once proud of their roles within this storied institution, found themselves questioning their futures. The diminishing sense of camaraderie replaced collaboration with competition, as individuals were pitted against one another in a struggle for survival. Communication faltered, leaving many in the dark about the company's long-term vision. The absence of recognition for hard work further fueled discontent as contributions went unnoticed amidst the turmoil. This erosion of internal cohesion not only affected productivity, but also hindered innovation, which had been a hallmark of the company's earlier success. As the decline continued, the emotional toll on employees became palpable. Individuals once filled with enthusiasm and dedication now felt disillusioned, and this pervasive sentiment crystallized into a collective resignation. The heart of this once thriving organization beat slower, echoing the fading hopes of those who remained. This shift in consumer sentiment was exacerbated by the rise of social media, where instant communication flourished. Platforms provided a new stage for public discourse, allowing customers to voice their opinions on products and experiences. This new dynamic transformed how perceptions were created and shared. Negative reviews spread rapidly, often overshadowing any positive engagement the fading company attempted to cultivate. Consumers found themselves navigating a world where their voices held significant weight. They discussed their preferences and grievances openly, influencing the wider community. This region of online interaction saw parents sharing stories about their shopping experiences, often highlighting convenience and price as paramount considerations, overshadowing any nostalgic attachment to the brand. The emotional connection once cherished began to erode as consumers turned to alternatives that appeared more aligned with their values. Brand sentiment shifted dramatically as the once beloved toy retailer became synonymous with outdated business practices. The company's attempts to leverage its legacy fell flat in a digital landscape that favored agile competitors. The disconnect between the brand's offerings and consumer needs grew more pronounced. The remnants of its former glory clashed with new expectations, leading to an inevitable decline. Loyalty waned, and shoppers sought experiences that resonated more authentically with their lives, leaving the fading company grappling for relevance in an era defined by rapid change. The erosion of a once thriving sector reverberated throughout the retail landscape, signaling a profound shift in consumer behavior. The decline of this giant prompted a re-examination of the entire toy industry as market dynamics evolved. Traditional retailers faced mounting pressure from e-commerce, where convenience and competitive pricing reigned supreme. The surge of online platforms reshaped shopping habits, drawing customers away from physical stores that had long been the cornerstone of toy distribution. This transition marked a turning point, not merely for individual companies, but for the industry as a whole. The closure of prominent retailers led to a cascading effect, creating a vacuum that smaller entities struggled to fill. Inventory levels plummeted as manufacturers adjusted production schedules in response to dwindling demand, leading to a surplus of unsold goods. An unsettling atmosphere enveloped many storefronts across the nation. The once vibrant aisles, filled with laughter and excitement, were now often silent, echoing the struggles of brands unable to adapt to shifting consumer preferences. With fewer players in the market, innovation stagnated and the introduction of new products diminished. This contraction illustrated not only the fragility of the toy sector, but also the broader implications for retail, highlighting the necessity of adaptability in a rapidly evolving marketplace. Licensing agreements with major toy brands were instrumental in shaping the company's product offerings. These deals allowed for a diverse range of merchandise, catering to various demographics and preferences. The relationships forged with iconic brands provided a competitive edge, yet they also introduced complexities. As trends shifted, the reliance on specific franchises became apparent. When these partnerships faltered, or when brands opted for exclusivity with other retailers, it left a significant void. Margins tightened as the costs associated with licensing increased. The pressure to maintain profitability became overwhelming, particularly in an environment where consumer preferences were changing swiftly. The once reliable revenue streams began to dwindle, creating an escalating sense of urgency within the corporate structure. The company's ability to adapt to new trends became paramount, yet it frequently struggled to pivot effectively. This region, once vibrant with the laughter of children and the excitement of new toys, entered a gradual decline. Stock was often misaligned with market demand, and shelves bore the weight of unsold inventory. The disconnect between the licensing agreements and actual sales reflected a broader disconnect with evolving consumer interests. As the years progressed, the once cherished brand faced challenges that seemed insurmountable, navigating a landscape that was increasingly hostile to traditional retail models. The repercussions echoed throughout the industry, leaving an indelible mark on the landscape of retail. The final store closures in 2018 marked a poignant conclusion to a legacy that once defined the world of toys. As locations shuttered their doors, the empty aisles remained a haunting reminder of what had once thrived. Shelves that were once stocked with vibrant merchandise now stood bare, the silence punctuated only by the echo of lost laughter. This region, once a bustling hub of childhood imagination, became increasingly desolate as the last remnants of the brand faded from public consciousness. The closures affected not just the physical stores, but the communities that had become accustomed to their presence. Employees, some of whom had dedicated decades to the company, faced uncertainty and abrupt transitions into an evolving job market. This loss transcended mere employment. It represented a shift in cultural norms and the way children engage with play. The decline of these stores reflected broader trends in retail, where online shopping increasingly commanded consumer attention and loyalty. With each closing, nostalgia mingled with economic reality. The once bustling locations were left to gather dust, a testament to a changing era. What had been a giant in the toy industry now stood as a cautionary tale of mismanagement and shifting consumer preferences, marking the end of an era where physical stores played a pivotal role in childhood experiences. Liquidation sales marked the aftermath, transforming vibrant retail spaces into hollow shells, stripped of their once colorful inventory. Shelves that had once been stocked with the latest toys became barren, echoing the decline of a beloved brand. Shoppers, drawn by significant discounts, navigated the aisles, their faces illuminated by nostalgia rather than excitement. The excitement of childhood memories clashed with the stark reality of a fading company, now reduced to mere remnants of its former self. With each passing day, the erosion of the brand became increasingly apparent. Loyal customers, once enthusiastic about the offerings, began to drift away. Competitors capitalized on the void, adapting to new consumer habits, while the fading company struggled to redefine its identity. The charm that once characterized the shopping experience was lost amid the desperation to clear remaining stock. In this region, the vibrant advertising campaigns faded from memory, replaced by a silence that spoke volumes of the inevitable decline. The brand name, once synonymous with joy, began to evoke a sense of loss. Trust eroded alongside sales, as once familiar logos became distant reminders of a bygone era. Amidst the liquidation, the legacy of the toy retail giant transformed into a somber reflection on the fragility of consumer loyalty and the relentless march of change in the marketplace. Generations of consumers recall the once vibrant aisles filled with colorful displays and the distinct aroma of new toys. This sense of nostalgia became ingrained in the collective memory, weaving itself into the very fabric of childhood experiences. It provided not just products but connections. Families gathered to explore, to play, and to dream within these walls. The store represented a rite of passage, a destination for birthdays and holidays, where anticipation mingled with joy. As time progressed, societal shifts began to alter perceptions and shopping habits. Rapid advancements in technology introduced online alternatives, leading to a gradual decline in foot traffic. These changes disrupted the familiar routine of in-store visits, marking a profound transition in consumer behavior. The beloved mascot, Geoffrey the giraffe, once a symbol of childhood wonder, now reflects a bygone era where physical stores were central to the shopping experience. The impact of this fading giant resonates beyond mere financial metrics. It serves as a case study in cultural evolution, illustrating the delicate balance between tradition and innovation. This region of retail history is marked by both triumph and tribulation, reminding future enterprises of the necessity to adapt. As the toys themselves continue to evolve, the memories of the once thriving store linger, encapsulating a unique chapter in the narrative of consumer culture. Nostalgia often serves as a bridge between the past and present, allowing consumers to forge emotional connections with brands that once held a central place in their lives. This sentimentality can create a powerful affiliation, as individuals recall joyful experiences from childhood while holding a toy in their hands or stepping through the doors of a familiar store. These feelings can influence purchasing decisions, guiding consumers back to brands that resonate with their formative years. The fading company, with its aisles filled with colorful packaging and familiar jingles, became a repository of cherished memories for many. The aroma of freshly unwrapped toys and the thrill of discovering new additions to beloved collections contributed to an atmosphere of joy and discovery. For generations, this environment fostered a sense of belonging, reinforcing loyalty among consumers. As the brand faced decline, the emotional ties remained strong. Many found solace in reminiscing about the past, even as the retail landscape shifted dramatically. Online shopping and changing consumer habits rendered traditional stores less relevant, yet the echoes of childhood continued to reverberate in the hearts of those who once frequented its locations. This attachment to nostalgia highlights a unique consumer connection, one that transcends mere transactions and speaks to the fundamental human experience of longing for simpler times. The decline of this iconic retailer serves as a cautionary tale for other companies within the toy retail sector. As consumer preferences evolve, the emphasis on digital engagement and e-commerce has reshaped the landscape. Traditional brick-and-mortar establishments find themselves competing with online platforms that offer unparalleled convenience and variety. The shift towards a more connected shopping experience necessitates adaptability among retailers. These changes reveal the importance of innovation and the ability to pivot in response to market trends. Retailers must harness technology to enhance customer interaction and streamline purchasing processes. Loyalty programs, augmented reality experiences, and personalized marketing strategies have become essential tools for survival. The echoes of Toys R Us resonate in the decisions made by emerging competitors and established brands alike. The once dominant retailer's inability to embrace these shifts. In the backdrop of these transitions, the role of physical stores continues to evolve. They serve not only as points of sale, but as experiential hubs where consumers can engage with products in tangible ways. This transformation indicates a future where the essence of shopping adapts, reflecting both technological advancements and enduring human connections. Such insights will guide the next generation of toy retailers as they navigate an uncertain horizon. The decline of this once cherished retailer offers a wealth of lessons for future enterprises. A primary observation centers around the necessity of adaptability. In a landscape increasingly dominated by digital commerce, the inability to pivot from traditional retail models resulted in stagnation. This rigidity, observed within the corporate structure, stifled innovation and left it vulnerable to competitors who embraced change. Consumer engagement emerged as another critical factor. The intense loyalty once held by shoppers did not translate into sustained profitability. Understanding that emotional connections with customers are paramount, future businesses must prioritize experiences that resonate deeply. This involves not only the products offered, but also the environments created for families. Financial management stands as a cornerstone for longevity. Excessive debt burdened the organization, limiting operational flexibility and long-term investments. A focus on sustainable growth rather than rapid expansion can safeguard against the perils of financial missteps. Lastly, continuous market analysis is essential. Failing to anticipate shifts in consumer preferences and the competitive landscape led to a disconnect with the target audience. Future toy retailers must cultivate a keen awareness of trends and evolving needs. These reflections serve as both a cautionary tale and a blueprint, illuminating the pathways to resilience in the face of impending change. The echoes of this fading company linger, reminding all who follow of the delicate balance required for success. Strategies employed by other retail giants illustrate a stark contrast. Adaptability emerged as a cornerstone for survival, with many companies embracing technological advancements and changing consumer preferences. These entities invested heavily in e-commerce platforms, ensuring their presence in the digital marketplace while enhancing the in-store experience for customers. A focus on diversification allowed several competitors to expand their product lines, reducing dependency on a single category. They diversified their offerings beyond toys, incorporating electronics, clothing, and home goods into their inventories. This multifaceted approach mitigated risks associated with market fluctuations in any one segment. Customer engagement served as another critical aspect of resilience. Through loyalty programs and personalized shopping experiences, successful retailers cultivated relationships that encouraged repeat business. They prioritized understanding consumer behavior, utilizing data analytics to anticipate trends and meet evolving demands. Supply chain optimization further distinguished these companies from those that faltered. Efficient logistics and strategic partnerships ensured that inventory management remained agile, enabling swift responses to market changes. This capability proved essential during periods of economic uncertainty, allowing for sustained operations even amid fluctuating sales. The contrasts illuminate essential lessons. A proactive stance in addressing market dynamics, alongside a commitment to customer satisfaction, paved the way for continued success, while the absence of such strategies led to the decline of others in the industry. Supply chain management served as a crucial backbone for retail operations, dictating not only the availability of products, but also the overall efficiency of a business. In the case of Toys R Us, inefficiencies began to surface, highlighting vulnerabilities in their distribution channels. While competitors optimized logistics and embraced technology, this entity struggled with outdated practices, resulting in inventory mismanagement and stock discrepancies. Those shortcomings fostered a disconnect between demand and supply. The inability to adapt to rapid shifts in consumer preferences further compounded the issue. When popular toy lines saw surges in popularity, rapid fulfillment became imperative. Instead, gaps in inventory were apparent, leaving shelves bare and customers disenchanted. Retailers that prioritized agility in their supply chains thrived, capitalizing on trends and ensuring timely restocking of sought-after items. Operational costs escalated as transportation inefficiencies and excess inventory accumulated. This environment stifled profitability. The importance of customer experience remained a critical aspect overlooked by the fading company. Shifts in consumer expectations favored personalized interactions and seamless shopping experiences. As competitors embraced digital innovation, it became evident that this once thriving giant failed to adapt to the evolving landscape. The physical stores, once vibrant spaces filled with laughter and delight, transformed into mere shells of their former selves. The ambience, which had once captivated children and families alike, grew stale and uninspired. A lack of engaging displays and interactive elements contributed to diminishing foot traffic. While rivals harnessed the power of technology to create immersive shopping experiences, this entity remained anchored to traditional retail methods. Online shopping surged in popularity, yet it could not pivot quickly enough to establish a robust digital presence. The absence of an effective e-commerce platform alienated a generation of consumers who sought convenience and accessibility. The disconnect between customer expectations and the offerings resulted in a growing loyalty to competitors. Families turned instead to alternatives that embraced the changing tides of retail. Promotions and marketing efforts had little impact without a compelling experience to support them, leaving the fading company struggling to maintain relevance in an increasingly competitive market. International expansion was perceived as a promising avenue for growth, with the allure of entering diverse markets. The company ventured into regions such as Europe, Asia, and Australia, seeking to replicate its domestic success. Each location was met with varying degrees of enthusiasm from local consumers and competitors alike. These ventures required substantial investments in infrastructure, marketing, and logistics, often yielding mixed results. In some markets, localized strategies were employed, adapting product offerings to align with cultural preferences. Yet, these efforts frequently fell short as the company grappled with understanding the nuances of foreign retail landscapes. Competitive pressures intensified from both established local players and emerging online retailers, which swiftly captured consumer attention. Notably, some international locations struggled with inconsistent management and strategic direction, leading to operational inefficiencies. Negative customer experiences further eroded brand loyalty, revealing a disconnect between the company's identity and consumer expectations. As financial losses mounted, strategic retreats became necessary, culminating in the closure of various international outlets. This retreat was not merely a consequence of external competition, it reflected deeper issues within the organization. The inability to adapt to shifting global market dynamics contributed significantly to the company's decline, marking a sobering chapter in the narrative of a once dominant retail giant. Overexpansion often leads to unintended consequences, and this case illustrates the vulnerabilities that can arise from aggressive growth strategies. In pursuit of widespread market presence, it pursued an ambitious expansion plan that increased its physical footprint significantly. The financial burden of maintaining numerous locations became untenable, particularly as consumer preferences shifted towards online shopping. This region, once filled with vibrant stores, transformed into a landscape of empty shelves and quiet aisles, a stark reminder of the past prosperity. The vast network required extensive resources for management and logistics, diverting attention from core operations. Margins began to shrink as operational inefficiencies multiplied, while competition intensified. The focus on physical expansion overshadowed the critical need for innovation. Instead of evolving with the retail environment, it became increasingly disconnected from the changing expectations of consumers. Cost-cutting measures were implemented, often at the expense of customer experience. Employees felt the strain, leading to diminished morale and service quality. This decline in employee engagement further alienated customers who increasingly sought alternatives. The once loyal clientele began to evaporate, leaving a legacy of financial instability. The holiday season traditionally served as a pivotal period for revenue generation. Seasonal sales strategies often included elaborate marketing campaigns designed to attract families seeking gifts, capitalizing on the festive spirit. This approach initially yielded substantial profits, yet over time, the effectiveness waned. Shifts in consumer behavior began to emerge, with families increasingly opting for online shopping experiences, drawn by convenience and competitive pricing. This transition diminished foot traffic within physical stores, creating an urgent need for adaptive strategies. Instead of harnessing the holiday momentum, the fading company struggled to provide a compelling in-store experience. Promotions became less enticing as competitors introduced innovative and engaging online platforms, capturing attention away from traditional retail. Attempts to revamp marketing efforts were met with mixed results. The allure of holiday promotions failed to resonate as it once did. This region, once bustling with excited children and parents, stood silent as stock began to accumulate. The once vibrant displays of toys lost their charm, overshadowed by the growing dominance of e-commerce giants. Inventory mismanagement compounded the issue, as unsold items lingered well past the holiday season. Capital, previously allocated for new products and marketing initiatives, became tied up in excess stock, further exacerbating financial troubles. The holiday strategy, once a hallmark of success, transformed into a harbinger of decline. The emerging market of educational toys presented a significant opportunity that the fading company overlooked. As consumer preferences shifted towards products that offered developmental benefits, this segment experienced noteworthy growth. Parents increasingly sought toys that combined entertainment with learning, believing that these products could foster creativity and cognitive skills in their children. Amidst this evolution, it became clear that competitors were quick to adapt. They invested in research and development, creating innovative educational offerings that captured the attention of both children and their guardians. This strategic pivot allowed them to cultivate brand loyalty and expand their market share. The fading company, however, remained anchored in its traditional product lines, overlooking the changing landscape. The lack of diversification into educational toys reflected a broader disconnect with the evolving expectations of a discerning consumer base. Instead of embracing the potential for growth within this sector, the fading giant clung to its legacy, unable to pivot effectively. As competitors flourished, the company's refusal to adapt contributed to its gradual decline. This missed opportunity underscored a critical lesson in the importance of innovation and responsiveness in an ever-changing marketplace. The decision to forego engagement with educational toys marked a turning point, solidifying its fate in the annals of corporate history. Fads have historically exerted considerable influence on sales trajectories within the toy industry. Trends, often fleeting, dictated consumer interest and purchasing behavior. The emergence of a new toy could lead to sharp spikes in revenue, while the absence of engagement with these trends often translated to diminished relevance. This phenomenon was particularly evident in the latter years of the fading company, when it struggled to adapt to rapid shifts in consumer preferences. Specialized items, such as collectible figures and interactive toys, began capturing the imagination of children and parents alike. They created a sense of urgency, driving parents to seek out the latest must-have toys. The inability to capitalize on emerging trends resulted in empty shelves, reflecting a stark disconnect between inventory and consumer demand. Compounding this issue, the rise of digital entertainment further fragmented market attention, diverting funds and interest away from traditional toys. In this region, competitors began to flourish, seizing opportunities to provide innovative products that resonated with the evolving desires of families. This shift in focus from physical toys to digital experiences highlighted a missed opportunity for the fading company, entrenching its position in decline. The once iconic brand was left in the shadows of a landscape transformed by evolving tastes, marking its departure from the forefront of the toy retail industry. The fading company had long attempted to position itself as a community-centric entity, engaging in philanthropy that resonated with families and children. Initiatives aimed at promoting childhood education and providing toys to less fortunate children marked its efforts to maintain relevance in a shifting market. Local partnerships with schools and charities were established, reflecting a commitment to social responsibility. The annual toy drives, while noble in intent, often struggled to generate the same enthusiasm they once did. Donations and sponsorships became a way to salvage the brand's image, even as financial struggles began to intensify. Each philanthropic endeavor was a double-edged sword. While it endeavored to create goodwill, it could not mask the underlying issues plaguing the business. The community events held in its stores, once bustling with families, began to dwindle in participation. The void left by shifting shopping habits and the rise of digital retailing was palpable, overshadowing these once celebrated gatherings. Local engagement efforts, though sincere, could not compensate for the erosion of market share. The philanthropic initiatives began to feel like a faint echo, a reminder of what the company once represented rather than a viable solution for revitalization. As these community ties frayed, the organization's disconnection from its core mission became increasingly evident. Economic inequality began to reshape consumer spending patterns, subtly influencing the fate of this once thriving retail giant. Shifts in disposable income led to altered purchasing behaviors. Families with diminished financial resources began to prioritize essential goods over discretionary items. As a result, the toy industry witnessed a decline in sales. The joy associated with toys became overshadowed by the pressing need for basic necessities. In this environment, the organization struggled to adapt. Marketing strategies that once resonated with a broad audience now fell flat, unable to connect with a consumer base increasingly cautious about spending. Promotions and discounts offered in an attempt to stimulate sales failed to counteract the growing hesitation among potential buyers. Parents who once frequented these stores were now drawn to online platforms, seeking value and convenience. The rise of e-commerce further exacerbated the decline. Online retailers provided an expansive selection with competitive pricing, undermining the physical store's appeal. As foot traffic dwindled, the atmosphere within these once bustling aisles grew quiet, almost somber. The vibrant displays that once captivated children and parents alike became relics of a bygone era, overshadowed by the stark reality of financial pressures and shifting consumer priorities. This changing landscape marked a critical turning point in the organization's trajectory. The inability to forge strategic partnerships became increasingly apparent in the latter years. Potential collaborations with emerging e-commerce platforms were overlooked, leaving it vulnerable to competitors who embraced the digital age. These missed opportunities created a widening gap between the fading company and its more agile counterparts. Retailers that successfully integrated technology into their operations established strong relationships with game developers and technology brands. This region witnessed a shift toward interactive play and digital engagement, which the organization could have capitalized on. Instead, it remained tethered to traditional models, missing the opportunity to evolve alongside shifting consumer preferences. The allure of licensing agreements also faded, as potential alliances with popular franchises remained unpursued. This failure to leverage iconic brands resulted in diminished shelf appeal and a loss of consumer interest. Competitors who embraced collaborations not only enriched their product offerings, but also captured the attention of a new generation of buyers. As these dynamics unfolded, it became increasingly evident that the organization struggled to adapt to an environment characterized by rapid change. The once familiar aisles, once filled with excitement and wonder, began to reflect the stark reality of a brand disconnected from the innovations shaping the industry. This dissonance manifested itself in various challenges, particularly in the realm of inventory management. The once celebrated retail giant struggled to adapt to the evolving landscape of consumer preferences and buying behaviors. Stocking shelves with popular items became increasingly difficult as competition intensified and market demands shifted rapidly. Delays in supply chain practices contributed to empty aisles and unfulfilled customer expectations. Frequent miscalculations in forecasting led to either overstock or shortages, both detrimental to maintaining a healthy financial state. Retailers thrived on agility and responsiveness, yet they remained entrenched in outdated methodologies, slow to embrace technological advancements that could have streamlined operations. Logistics became a burden instead of a facilitator. Distribution centers, once state-of-the-art, fell out of sync with the needs of a digital-savvy consumer base. This disconnect hindered their ability to respond promptly to seasonal fluctuations or sudden spikes in demand. Inefficient supplier relationships exacerbated the situation, making it difficult to negotiate favorable terms or expedite deliveries. The reliance on a limited number of vendors constrained options and increased vulnerability to disruptions. Amid these operational challenges, a pattern of stagnation emerged. The inability to adapt and innovate in inventory management highlighted a larger issue within the organization, a disconnect from the very market they aim to serve. A reliance on outdated practices stifled growth, leaving little room for embracing the potential of data analytics. In an era where competitors leveraged insights to anticipate consumer trends, this fading company remained entrenched in traditional methodologies. This detachment from evolving technological landscapes allowed rivals to gain significant advantages, as they utilized sophisticated algorithms to curate product offerings based on real-time purchasing behaviors. Data-driven decisions became the cornerstone of retail strategy for thriving entities. While others were optimizing their supply chains and personalizing customer experiences, they continued to struggle with basic inventory forecasting. The absence of analytical tools meant missed opportunities to identify emerging trends, resulting in overstocked items or, conversely, empty shelves that frustrated customers. Feedback loops critical for understanding consumer preferences went largely ignored. The shift towards digital engagement saw competitors harnessing vast amounts of consumer data through online interactions. These insights informed everything from marketing strategies to store layouts, whereas this organization lagged, relying on intuition rather than empirical evidence. As sales dwindled, it became evident that the failure to embrace a data-centric approach was not merely a misstep but indicative of a deeper malaise. Without the ability to adapt to the evolving retail landscape, the consequences became increasingly pronounced, leading to a gradual but relentless decline. A series of strategies were contemplated in an attempt to reverse the downward trajectory. Executives explored the potential of an enhanced online presence, recognizing the growing significance of e-commerce. Plans included an investment in a robust digital platform aimed at capturing a segment of the market that increasingly favored convenience over traditional shopping experiences. This shift, however, was met with internal resistance and a lack of decisive action, leaving opportunities untapped. Additionally, there were discussions surrounding the diversification of product offerings. The possibility of expanding into electronics and other trending merchandise was analyzed, yet such initiatives were never fully realized. Without a clear execution plan, ideas remained mere concepts, overshadowed by the company's existing challenges. Each proposed strategy seemed to dissolve under the weight of financial constraints and a corporate structure that struggled to implement change effectively. Store renovations were also considered, aiming to create a more engaging shopping environment. The vision included interactive displays and community-focused events to draw families back into physical locations. This notion, despite its potential, remained on the drawing board, overshadowed by mounting debts and a collapsing market position. With each unfulfilled strategy, it became evident that opportunities for revitalization slipped further away. They lingered like shadows, haunting the remnants of what was once a retail powerhouse. This region became increasingly dominated by online competitors, reshaping consumer expectations and behaviors. Amazon, with its expansive logistics and efficient delivery systems, began to capture significant market share in the toy sector. The ease of access and competitive pricing attracted consumers seeking convenience. Traditional retail giants struggled to adapt, facing mounting pressure from this formidable presence. Sales trends shifted dramatically as families gravitated toward the digital marketplace. The allure of browsing an extensive selection from the comfort of home contrasted sharply with the limitations of physical stores. This transformation did not occur overnight. It gradually eroded the customer base that had once flocked to brick-and-mortar locations. As online platforms enhanced their offerings, they began to invest in exclusive brands and collaborations, further entrenching their position. The introduction of same-day delivery options and targeted advertising made it increasingly difficult for conventional retailers to compete. In this evolving landscape, toys found their way into shopping carts during unrelated purchases, seamlessly integrating into the broader retail experience. The fading company found itself unable to sustain its traditional business model, which had once thrived on foot traffic and in-store promotions. Each empty aisle and unsold shelf bore witness to the changing tides, reflecting a shift in consumer preferences that would. The role of brick-and-mortar stores in a digital age became increasingly precarious. These physical spaces, once bustling with eager shoppers and colorful displays, now stood largely unvisited, their vibrancy dulled. The allure of online shopping offered convenience and variety, drawing customers away from traditional retail experiences. This gradual erosion transformed the once thriving company into a relic of a bygone era. In this region, the loss of foot traffic was palpable. Stores were often filled with outdated inventory, remnants of a strategy that failed to adapt. Employees, once bustling with activity, found themselves navigating the stillness that enveloped the aisles. Uncertainty loomed as they grappled with decreased customer engagement and the pressure to maintain sales in an increasingly digital marketplace. Consumers no longer sought out the tactile experiences of picking up and examining toys. Instead, they turned to screens, where a plethora of options awaited just a few clicks away. This shift irrevocably altered purchasing behaviors, leaving brick-and-mortar establishments struggling to remain relevant. The fading company could not compete with the speed and efficiency of online giants, leading to a stark realization. The charm of physical stores diminished against the backdrop of a rapidly evolving retail landscape. These ruins of a once iconic brand served as a testament to the relentless march of technological progress, leaving echoes of nostalgia in their wake. These shifts in preferences reflected broader changes in parenting trends, which increasingly favored experiences and educational enrichment over traditional toys. This evolution revealed a growing emphasis on developmental value, steering consumers away from conventional merchandise found within these stores. Parents began to prioritize products that promoted learning, creativity, and social interaction, leading them to seek alternatives outside the confines of a toy aisle. This environment fostered the rise of niche markets catering to specific developmental needs, such as STEM-focused toys and eco-friendly options. These emerging categories captured the attention of discerning caregivers who sought to provide their children with resources that aligned with contemporary educational philosophies. It was not merely a change in product preference, it was a profound shift in values. Vibrant marketing campaigns from new and agile competitors underscored the fading company's inability to adapt. They often employed targeted messaging that resonated with the aspirations of modern families, further eroding the appeal of traditional offerings. The allure of innovation, combined with the convenience of online shopping, made it increasingly challenging for physical stores to retain customer loyalty. In this transformed landscape, the remnants of the company stood quietly, a poignant reminder of how swiftly preferences can change, leaving once familiar spaces devoid of the vibrancy they once held. The analysis of market share reveals the gradual but steady erosion of dominance once held by this entity. Competitors began to emerge, adapting to the evolving demands of consumers with a nimble approach. Discount retailers and online giants seized opportunities, providing convenience and competitive pricing that drew customers away. As these alternatives flourished, the fading company's market share diminished, highlighting a stark contrast in adaptability. Sales figures illustrated this decline starkly. In the early 2000s, Toys R Us commanded a substantial portion of the toy market, boasting a significant lead over rivals. As time progressed, the rise of digital retail transformed consumer behavior. Shoppers increasingly gravitated toward platforms that offered not only lower prices, but also the convenience of home delivery. This shift accelerated the decline as foot traffic to physical locations waned. Even efforts to innovate, such as store redesigns and exclusive product offerings, could not reverse the trend. The inability to integrate an effective online strategy further compounded the challenges, while competitors consolidated their positions, enhancing their market presence. The fading company remained anchored to a model that was increasingly deemed antiquated. The once vibrant stores, filled with the laughter of children, became quiet spaces, their shelves lined with unsold inventory, a testament to the shifting tides of consumer preferences and market dynamics. Legal challenges emerged as a significant hurdle for the fading company. Faced with mounting financial pressures, it found itself embroiled in a series of lawsuits that further complicated its already precarious situation. Creditors, frustrated by unpaid debts, initiated legal actions aimed at recovering their investments, while former employees sought redress for issues related to severance and benefits. Regulatory scrutiny intensified as the business struggled to maintain compliance with evolving industry standards. Investigations into labor practices and safety regulations revealed vulnerabilities in operations, leading to further reputational damage. These investigations were not merely procedural. They exposed systemic issues that eroded consumer trust and confidence. In addition to internal challenges, external pressures mounted. Challengers in the retail market, both online and brick-and-mortar, capitalized on the company's struggles, further diminishing its market share. competitors entered the space with innovative offerings and agile operations, leaving little room for the once dominant player to maneuver. This combination of legal entanglements and regulatory hurdles created a suffocating atmosphere. The company found itself unable to pivot effectively in response to a rapidly changing landscape, as capital for strategic initiatives dwindled. Each legal setback served as a reminder of the fragility of its position, pushing it deeper into the shadows of its former glory. The decline created a stark contrast in advertising strategies. Initially, it thrived on vibrant campaigns that captured the imagination of children and their parents alike. Bright visuals and catchy jingles filled screens and airwaves, creating an infectious excitement surrounding the brand. This approach fostered brand loyalty and made the retailer a household name. As challenges mounted, the advertising shifted. Messages became more subdued, reflecting a company grappling with its identity. Strategies aimed at recapturing market share often relied on nostalgia, repurposing themes from its heyday in an attempt to draw in customers. Even though these efforts carried an emotional weight, they failed to resonate with a generation that had moved on to digital platforms. The rise of e-commerce further complicated its advertising efforts. It struggled to adapt to a digital landscape where engagement was driven by social media and influencers. Budgets that had once fueled expansive television campaigns were redirected to digital avenues, yet the execution remained inconsistent. The fading company found itself at odds with the evolving expectations of a tech-savvy consumer base. Creatively, the advertising suffered. It became a series of fragmented messages that lacked the cohesion necessary to re-establish a strong brand presence. Instead of inspiring joy, these campaigns often felt like reminders of what once was, echoing through the aisles of closed stores. A palpable sense of loss permeated the communities surrounding shuttered retail locations. Shoppers, once eager participants in the vibrant experience of toy shopping, now stood before empty storefronts, remnants of a bygone era lingering in their memories. The aisles that once buzzed with laughter and excitement were now silent, their shelves stripped bare. Parents recalled the joy of selecting the perfect gifts for their children, while children reminisced about the thrill of exploring every corner. The emotional weight of closure pressed down heavily, as individuals lamented not only the loss of a beloved store, but also the memories created within its walls. Conversations among community members echoed sentiments of nostalgia and disbelief, punctuated by shared stories of holiday traditions and birthday celebrations that revolved around these visits. Local media captured the community's response, detailing gatherings organized to discuss the implications of the bankruptcy. Residents expressed a desire for revitalization, questioning what this meant for the future of retail in the area. Voices expressed a mix of frustration and hope, advocating for new businesses that could fill the void left behind. Amidst the ruins of the fading company, a longing for connection and community spirit persisted, as reminders of the past intertwined with aspirations for the future. The loss was not merely corporate. It was deeply personal, affecting lives and relationships throughout the region. The aftermath of the collapse reverberated through the lives of countless employees. Job losses became a stark reality as the once thriving stores shuttered their doors, leaving behind empty aisles and silent checkout counters. This region, once vibrant with the laughter of children and the hustle of families, now faced an unsettling quiet. Individuals who dedicated years to the company found themselves in a state of uncertainty, grappling with the abrupt ends to their careers. The transition proved challenging for many. Severance packages, while providing some immediate relief, could not fill the void left by sudden unemployment. A sense of disbelief permeated the air as former employees sought new opportunities in a changing job market, often finding themselves competing against a flood of fellow job seekers. Resumes were updated, skills reassessed, and professions reconsidered in the face of necessity. Support networks emerged as those impacted leaned on one another for guidance. Local career centers became essential hubs, offering workshops and resources to navigate the tumultuous waters of job hunting. Some embraced retraining programs or pursued entrepreneurship, while others transitioned to entirely different industries. The once familiar faces of employees transformed into a collective of hopeful individuals, striving to rebuild their lives amidst the ruins of a retail giant that had defined their careers and communities. Abandoned stores stand as melancholic reminders of a vibrant past. These vacant structures, once filled with laughter and excitement, now evoke a sense of loss. In this region, the remnants of the retail giant linger, their empty shelves speaking to a decline that reverberates beyond the walls. The fate of such spaces often lies shrouded in uncertainty. Repurposing efforts emerge as a potential lifeline for these deserted venues. Community organizations and entrepreneurs explore creative uses, envisioning a future that diverges from traditional retail. It is not uncommon for these spaces to transform into community centers, art studios, or even urban farms. Each endeavor breathes new life into the landscape, fostering connections among local residents. Nevertheless, the transition presents challenges. Zoning regulations, financial constraints, and the lingering shadow of the previous occupant complicate revitalization efforts. This region, once a bustling hub of commerce, may experience a slow metamorphosis as the community navigates these obstacles. In some instances, these abandoned stores languish for years, becoming physical manifestations of economic change. The architecture, an echo of past ambition, may fall victim to decay. As time passes, these structures could be reclaimed by nature, their surroundings shifting and adapting to the absence of human presence. The future of these retail spaces remains uncertain, yet the potential for renewal persists quietly beneath the surface. Rebranding efforts unfolded as executives sought to reclaim a sense of identity for the fading company. Bright colors and playful designs adorned marketing materials, reflecting a nostalgic vision of childhood joy. New strategies emphasized a return to the magic of play, attempting to distinguish it from the stark realities of modern retail. The integration of experiential shopping environments emerged, aiming to create interactive spaces where children could engage with products, rekindling the brand's connection to imagination. Partnerships with beloved franchises and influencers provided additional layers to promotional campaigns. These collaborations sought to evoke warmth and familiarity, drawing on the long-standing legacy associated with the iconic giraffe mascot. Digital platforms also became focal points, with attempts to harness e-commerce's potential while maintaining a physical presence. Challenges persisted, however, as the competitive landscape shifted dramatically. Online retailers continued to dominate, drawing consumers away from brick-and-mortar locations. Despite efforts to redefine its image, the struggle to adapt to changing shopping behaviors loomed large. The resonance of childhood memories provided a foundation, yet it was insufficient to overcome the weight of financial burdens and operational inefficiencies. With each attempt at revitalization, lingering questions remained about the effectiveness of these initiatives. The once vibrant retail giant faced the reality of a marketplace that had evolved beyond its grasp. The influence of pop culture on consumer perceptions played a vital role in shaping the identity of the fading company. Throughout the decades, it became a familiar presence in films and television, a symbol of childhood joy and wonder. Iconic moments featured the large, whimsical stores, often filled with children eagerly exploring aisles lined with colorful merchandise. This imagery contributed to an emotional connection that many felt toward the brand, associating it with nostalgia and carefree days. As consumer preferences shifted towards digital experiences, this once cherished image began to tarnish. Television shows and movies that had celebrated the joy of visiting these stores slowly shifted their focus to online shopping, subtly steering audiences away from physical retail spaces. The contrast became stark. While pop culture had once elevated its status, it now reflected a changing landscape where online retailers thrived in the digital age. This transition left the fading company struggling to maintain relevance in a world that was increasingly enamored with technology and convenience. The media, once a supportive narrative force, began to highlight the missteps and declining fortunes, emphasizing the challenges faced in this evolving environment. The portrayal transitioned from a vibrant force to a cautionary tale, marking the end of an era that many had cherished. The brand's legacy became a reflection of both its achievements and its inability to adapt. Changes in retail logistics transformed the landscape of toy distribution, playing a pivotal role in the decline of this once iconic brand. The emergence of e-commerce presented new challenges, as online giants established efficient supply chains that could deliver products directly to consumers' doorsteps. Traditional brick-and-mortar stores struggled to compete with the convenience and accessibility that these platforms offered. In this shifting environment, it became increasingly clear that reliance on a network of physical stores was a significant vulnerability. Inventory management systems, which once operated effectively in a more predictable marketplace, began to falter under the pressures of rapid consumer preferences. The distribution centers that had served the growing demand for toys became outdated, unable to process orders with the speed and efficiency required by the evolving market. Competition from discount retailers further exacerbated the situation. These entities utilized streamlined logistics to offer lower prices, appealing directly to budget-conscious families. The fading company found itself unable to sustain the high overhead costs associated with maintaining large retail spaces while simultaneously facing declining sales volumes. This region of the retail industry saw a marked shift towards online shopping, leading to a gradual erosion of market share. What once thrived in the aisles now languished amid the rise of virtual marketplaces, culminating in a profound transformation of consumer behavior. It represented a cherished connection to childhood, a sanctuary where imagination flourished within the vibrant aisles. The experience of walking through its doors evoked nostalgia, as families revisited memories associated with the iconic figure of Geoffrey the giraffe. Strong emotional ties were formed, and many patrons viewed this retailer as more than just a store. It was a cornerstone of their upbringing. This loyalty, however, became increasingly fragile as competitors adapted to shifting tides. Rivals embraced innovation in the form of online shopping, personalized marketing, and expansive product offerings. The once celebrated giant struggled to pivot, caught in a web of outdated practices. As consumers gravitated towards the convenience of e-commerce, the allure of the in-store experience diminished. The decline of this entity also illuminated the fragility of brand loyalty in an evolving marketplace. While it had established a formidable presence, the emotional bonds forged over decades could not withstand the relentless advance of technology. The allure of novelty and speed began to overshadow the warm familiarity it once offered. What remained were echoes of laughter and the fading memories of a place that had once encapsulated joy. In this stark landscape, the significance of brand loyalty became a poignant reminder of the delicate balance between tradition and adaptation. The role of business ethics emerged as a critical factor in the decline of this once beloved retailer. With increasing scrutiny on corporate responsibility, consumers began to expect transparency and integrity from the companies they supported. This environment fostered a growing demand for ethical practices, which, a series of decisions revealed the gaps in ethical oversight. The pursuit of short-term profits overshadowed long-term sustainability, leading to questionable financial maneuvers and a lack of investment in employee welfare. The erosion of trust among stakeholders resulted in diminished brand equity, as loyal patrons slowly turned away in search of alternatives that aligned more closely with their values. This shift indicated a broader societal trend where consumers favored brands reflecting their own ethical beliefs. The consequences were inevitable. As financial strain intensified, the company struggled to uphold its commitments to community engagement and environmental stewardship. These lapses became more pronounced, further isolating it from a market increasingly driven by conscience. The once vibrant aisles, filled with laughter and excitement, transformed into silent reminders of what was lost, overshadowed by a legacy that now served as a cautionary tale against neglecting ethical considerations in business. Lessons from this decline extend far beyond the confines of a single brand. The ramifications echo through corporate structures, emphasizing the necessity of adaptability in an ever-evolving market landscape. Many enterprises, like this fading giant, failed to pivot in response to shifting consumer preferences. Reliance on a once dominant business model proved disastrous as competitors embraced innovation and agility. These lessons highlight the importance of understanding audience engagement. The absence of a strong digital presence became evident. As online retail burgeoned, traditional giants faltered, unable to compete with nimble e-commerce platforms. This oversight created a void, leading to diminished sales and eroding market share. Cultural shifts also played a significant role in this downfall. Changing societal values around play, education, and family dynamics demanded a reassessment of product offerings. Failure to respond to these evolving sentiments alienated a new generation of consumers. Strategic financial management emerged as another critical element. Decisions regarding debt accumulation and investment priorities shaped the trajectory of this entity's fate. Poorly timed expansions and an inability to streamline operations further exacerbated their decline. In this region, the remnants of their storefronts serve as an educational monument. They remind current and future business leaders of the multifaceted nature of corporate sustainability, urging a thoughtful approach that encompasses ethical practices, market responsiveness, and financial prudence. A systematic examination of financial reports offers insight into the decline of this once prominent retailer. Revenue figures began their gradual descent in the early 2000s, with annual earnings reflecting a troubling trend. Sales figures, once robust, fell steeply, revealing an inability to adapt effectively to changing consumer preferences. The emergence of e-commerce posed a significant challenge, with online competitors eroding market share. Debt levels steadily increased, driven by leveraged buyouts that burdened the company's financial structure. Interest payments consumed a significant portion of operating income, limiting the ability to reinvest in stores or innovate product offerings. Profit margins compressed over time, hinting at the rising costs of maintaining a large brick-and-mortar presence amidst a shifting retail landscape. Inventory turnover rates highlighted inefficiencies as unsold stock accumulated in the face of waning demand. This inefficiency contributed to a negative cash flow, further straining resources. The financial statements revealed a stark contrast between historical profitability and the contemporary struggle to sustain operations. The emotional connection to this retailer remains palpable among former employees and customers alike. Memories surface in the recollections of those who once walked the aisles, where the vibrant displays of toys ignited joy and wonder. For many, it served as a sanctuary of childhood, a place where imagination thrived amidst shelves filled with games and action figures. Stories of laughter and excitement linger in the air, echoing through the empty spaces that once bustled with families seeking the perfect gift. Former employees speak of their experiences with a sense of nostalgia, recalling the camaraderie shared with colleagues and the thrill of assisting eager children. Many describe the pride in working for a company that was synonymous with childhood happiness. They often reflect on the challenges faced as the landscape of retail evolved, noting the disconnection felt as the corporate structure shifted away from the values that once fostered such strong bonds with customers. The gradual decline of this icon transformed these vibrant memories into echoes of the past. Customers who once relied on it for celebrations and everyday joys now recount experiences tinged with melancholy. What was once a hub of delight has become a symbol of loss, a reminder of a time when the simple act of purchasing a toy held immeasurable significance. The influence of youth culture significantly shaped the trajectory of this fading company. A generation once stood eagerly in bright aisles, their demands dictating the toys that adorned the shelves. Preferences shifted rapidly, dictated by the whims of the young and the trends they embraced. Colors, characters, and themes emerged from their imaginations, often fueled by media and peer interactions. In this environment, understanding these influences became paramount. The need for immediate adaptation to changing tastes proved challenging. While some designs captured fleeting attention, others faded into obscurity almost as quickly. The relentless pace of cultural trends rendered many offerings irrelevant before they could even find their way to consumers. In an age driven by digital engagement, traditional retail struggled to keep pace. Online platforms became the new playground, where choices multiplied and the allure of instant gratification overshadowed brick-and-mortar experiences. The allure of a toy was no longer confined to physical spaces. It transcended into the virtual realm, drawing youth away from the once thriving stores. The disconnect between evolving youth culture and the company's rigid strategies became increasingly apparent. As preferences shifted towards technology and instant access, the once celebrated toy retailer found itself unable to bridge the gap, culminating in an inevitable decline that echoed through empty aisles. The landscape of toy retail began to evolve, driven by the need for innovation in a changing marketplace. New entrants embraced technology, utilizing augmented reality and interactive experiences to captivate a generation accustomed to instant gratification. This region witnessed the emergence of immersive environments where children could engage with toys in ways that transcended traditional retail methods. Innovative retailers harnessed data analytics to tailor inventory and marketing strategies, ensuring that offerings resonated with contemporary preferences. In this pursuit of relevance, the role of e-commerce transformed significantly. Enhanced online platforms allowed for seamless browsing and purchasing experiences, catering to the demands of busy families. Subscription services emerged, providing curated selections delivered directly to homes, keeping children engaged and parents satisfied. These advancements created a dynamic ecosystem that encouraged exploration and discovery. Store formats became flexible, with pop-up experiences and themed events designed to generate excitement and community engagement. Retailers prioritized creating memorable moments, inviting families to participate in hands-on activities that fostered connection and creativity. The focus shifted from mere transactions to building relationships and experiences, essential for thriving in this new era. While the fading company struggled to adapt, the industry as a whole revitalized itself, driven by a collective commitment to innovation and the desire to meet the evolving expectations of consumers. The commitment to innovation served as a catalyst for survival among competitors, emphasizing the importance of adaptability in a changing landscape. This region of the retail sector witnessed a transformation as businesses embraced the necessity of aligning with consumer desires. The decline of the fading company became a case study, illustrating the consequences of resistance to change. Lessons emerged from the rise and fall of this once cherished giant, underscoring the significance of understanding market dynamics. The failure to recognize the shift toward digital engagement and the importance of an omnichannel approach proved detrimental. In contrast, rivals who embraced technology and prioritized customer interaction flourished, cultivating loyalty in a crowded marketplace. Furthermore, the journey highlighted the risks associated with over-leveraging and the impact of financial mismanagement. This aspect of corporate governance became increasingly relevant as stakeholders began to scrutinize the sustainability of business practices. The legacy of this retailer is not merely one of decline, but of instruction. Future enterprises can glean insights from its trajectory, emphasizing the necessity of flexibility, consumer engagement, and prudent financial strategies. Such reflections foster a deeper understanding of the evolving nature of retail and the vital importance of anticipating change. In this quiet aftermath, the enduring lessons resonate, reminding the industry of the delicate balance between tradition and innovation.